everyone, welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. I am Bonnie Krebs, creator of Watercolor the Art Impressions Way, and this week is a simple little project. I'm going to show you how to put this together. We're going to create this little window scene with this wall texture. So this is from the wall texture set, and we're going to kind of create this look of shiplap or an old rustic cabin looking outside. And you can see I've used the little bird in the birdhouse, but you can put anything into this window. So the whole point of these videos is just to give you an idea on how you can try it, and then you can take it to the next level and be creative on your own. So we are going to put this together really simple. It only takes 3 sets. So we are going to use the window. So the window, this one right here, we're going to use this. We're going to remove the shutters so that we're only stamping the window. We're going to use the wall texture. So we're going to use this one right here. So it's showing on the package that it's going up and down, but we can also turn it horizontal like this, and that's how we're going to use it in this project. Then in the birdhouse set, we're going to use one of these little birds and the little birdhouse right here. Okay, so let's get going. And I've started out with a piece of watercolor paper, and I've drawn a 2.5-inch square. So there are a lot of ways that you can do that. I find the easiest way is to just cut a square. This is out of a heavier cardstock, and just trace around it. So it doesn't have to be exact. This is just about the size of a 2.5-inch, but you can make it however, whatever size that you want. So now I'm going to cover around it. So I'm using Post-it tape right now, and I'm just going to cover it along the edge because we want to create this look of a frame. And so we want to just block off the edge here so that we don't stamp over the top. This is really handy stuff. I really like this Post-it tape. And I think you can get it anywhere. So I've now masked off the edge of my little painting. Okay, so now we're ready to stamp. So we're going to take that window stamp right here, and we're going to ink it in the sepia. So this time we're just using the sepia only, and we're not going to ink the shutters. So only this area on the inside. So this inside line right here, the sill right here, we're going to ink that. This edge right here on the side of the shutters, and then of course across the top. And then be sure to get all these little windows in here. Okay, so we've got that stamped, and now I'm going to stamp that in the center of my paper. Just a good even pressure, so don't press too hard. This is a very light image, and so we don't want to just mash it into the paper. Okay, so we've got this finished now, and you can see I've got a little bit of the shutters on here. Don't worry about things like this. This is so easy to fix, and when we're finished with this project, that's not going to matter at all. Okay, so now let's go on to the texture. So I've placed this texture into the corner, and I'm going to use it horizontally. So I've placed it in on my block like this, and I'm going to use my positioner. So I want to make sure that I get it straight and that I line up all of these lines. So I guess the biggest thing about this is don't worry that the lines necessarily line up across like this. I just freehand stamped this, so I didn't measure anything, and I feel like that adds a lot to the little finished composition. So never worry about things like that. Some of these lines don't exactly line up here. I don't think that matters. Of course, you can measure it if you want to, but I usually never do. Okay, so let's ink this. We're going to ink it in the sepia. So just ink it up like this, the whole stamp. And we're going to place our little shield into the corner, just like this, and then stamp this right into the corner so that we can see exactly where it's going to go. And I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to leave a space in between. So I'm going to actually start it right about here. That looks pretty good. And I'm just going to huff on it now. And then I'm going to continue over now to the other side. And you can just kind of line it up like this. Don't worry that it's perfect. It does not have to be perfect at all. So huff on it again. Okay, just like that. So now I'm going to take the next step now, and I'm going to cut a mask for the window because I'm coming down the sides and I don't want to stamp over the top of the window. So I'm going to take a Post-it note And I'm just going to re-ink my window. Just lightly. I just need the basic shape of this and mostly just the outline. So just like this. And I'm just going to stamp it on here and then take that off and cut it out. So really simple to do. Just get some scissors and don't worry about making this perfect. It doesn't have to be. We're just covering the basic area of this little window so that we don't stamp over the top. And you can see I left some of the sticky stuff at the top so that it will stick to my paper. Okay, so now I'm going to cover this up right up here like this. And now I can stamp over the top and not worry about this texture getting onto my window. Okay, so let's move down. So I'm going to drop this down now to the next level. And you can see I've left a space in here. So I'm kind of lining that up. And the biggest thing is just to make sure that it's straight. That's probably the biggest thing. So you don't have to ink this every time. And actually you can get quite a few impressions without inking it. So let's drop this one down now. And just keep working your way down. I'm going to ink this again. And stamp it on here. Really light pressure. So don't press too hard on these. That's really important. So I'm going to huff on it. And then just come over here and just keep going. And we can move up now. That looks pretty good right there. And I think I'll re-ink this. And just remember not to press too hard. Just good, even pressure. And I think maybe one more in here, just like this. And I just huffed on that one. Okay, so we've got our wall texture in here. That looks pretty good. And we are ready to go on to the next step. Okay, so now what we're going to do is dip our brush in water. And we're just gonna go along these little lines here. And this is gonna create that space in between. It's gonna kind of pop these little boards out. So this is just the idea of these little slats in here. So this is the first step, and bring that clear over to the window. And you can see that I'll start looking a little more three-dimensional. So just like this, doesn't take very much water at all. In fact, don't overdo it with the water. Just very simply. You can pull this color out from under this little windowsill. And then just kind of drag it down like this. That's going to kind of bring that window out a little bit too. My brush is really pretty dry. These are really small lines, and we don't want to oversaturate this with water. So you can see that window is starting to pop out a little bit, and we're getting the texture in here of this little shiplap. And just kind of follow it like this. Okay, that looks pretty good. We can come back to this now in a little bit and add some more color to it. But for now, let's go on to the next step. And we're going to add our little birdhouse in here. So we're going to use the positioner again. Make sure that we get this in the right place. This little positioner is so handy, and it's really nice because it's small. And most of these things are small, so it's really easy to travel with. But I find myself using it all the time now. So flush into the corner. And I'm going to put it right here. And honestly, it doesn't matter if I stamp over this window a little bit. So you can see this little area where the window is, I'm going to stamp over that a little bit because we can just wash that out. So I'm going to remove that, just huff on it, and place this in the window. And this is where you could use anything. You could put a little pot in here, or one of the little characters, one of the little mini characters, put them in the window. So many ways that you can use this idea. So you can see I just kind of drug that color out, and that did the trick. So I'm just going to pull some of this color out now. Drag this over. And then want to really darken this area inside here. This is going to really pop this out. And maybe in here where this looks like this little roof might be cracking. Don't be afraid to add a little extra color in there. All those little things are going to really add to your composition. Be brave. You can do it. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and put our little bird in the window. And we're going to use our positioner again. And I'm going to ink this with sepia. So we're using lots of sepia in this composition. Sepia is the magic color because it just works with everything. So I'm going to set this little bird on the windowsill, just like this. Super cute. Puff on that. And there we go. So we're going to darken his little eye. This is so important to do, these little details. And then pull that color out of the lines, just like we did before. Always keep the face light. You can see even this little tiny bird, he's so small, but we still want to keep his little face light. That makes such a difference. So now I'm going to add a little warm brown to my palette. This is number 6 brown. And we're going to create this little robin. And just brush in his little chest here. And we can take a little of this color and actually brush a little bit onto this little roof here. You can add whatever color you want on here. So fun. Leave those little white, areas. If you can just avoid the urge to color everything in solid, you're just going to be so much happier with how it turns out. You really will. Okay, so let's add our background in here. Don't be intimidated by this. This is just the idea of a background. So we're just going to take a little green. So maybe 2 shades of green. This is 72, so pine green. And this is number 15, so olive green. And we're just going to brush in a little background. So just the idea of it. So take a little bit of this green and just start back in the back and just brush this in. Just drag it down towards the little bird. Don't let it touch this little guy. We want to keep him detailed, so we want to see him. And it should get lighter as you go towards this little bird. And then just a little darker back here in the background, like this. And then clean your brush off, and let's take a little of this green, and let's just put something else in the background here. Just a little bit. Don't overthink this. Just get this color in here. Honestly, by the time you finish your composition, nobody notices, tiny little details like this. Okay, and let's add some blue in here for the sky. So this is the number 100 sapphire, but you can use whatever blue. That's not critical. This is a very bright, kind of a happy blue. Love this color. And just brush it in. Super easy. And if you stop kind of before you hit the green, you can give the idea of a little cloud line. It's kind of fun. And just keep brushing this in until you're happy with how dark it is. Let's put a little detail into that little birdhouse. So just some little lines in here. Just kind of adds to the whole composition. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to add just a little more color to that robin. So this is the number 45 sepia. And I'm just going to take a little bit of this and just add a tiny bit to his little wings and his tail. And then I'm going to take my fine tip and really kind of darken his little feet. That looks good. Okay, we are almost finished. We're going to add a little more color now to this slat wall. So we're going to take a little of the sepia and just really wash it out and just put a little color in here. Mostly around the edges, because when we take this masking tape off, we want to see that there's a color there. So we want to see that this is a little framed art. And so I want to see a definite border. So just go along and just add a little color to the edge and just wash it out. It doesn't need a lot. Just want to show that there's color along the edge. And it's going to be kind of rustic, so you're going to see a little mix of color anyway on here. So just like this. And you could actually add some of this blue in also. This is the number 86. So you can add some of this color in as well. Just give it some shadows. You know, even things that are white are not ever uncolored. So we've got kind of this rustic looking window, but it's still going to have some color on it. Okay, so now I'm going to take my fine tip. So this is my sepia, and I'm going to make some little marks right here where these divots are. So in between these planks, this is going to be dark in here. And so I want to see that little dark area in between. So just like this. You could also make a few more lines, so you can darken these little lines where these planks are, and you could make a few more. Just a few more details. And don't be afraid to darken the areas that you think would be darker, you know, along here for sure, and underneath this little windowsill. This would be really dark. So now let's pull some of that color out where these little cracks are. And my brush is really pretty dry. So don't oversaturate this with the water. Always be sure to stamp it and pinch it off. Okay, I think we are about finished with this little composition. Super fun and easy. This is just really a fun project to do. Try this with some of the other wall textures as well. It doesn't have to be the slat wall. You could do the bricks too. So fun. Okay, so let's remove our masking tape here. Pull this off, comes off really easily. And we can see our little picture in the frame. And then just take a pencil and erase those lines. They'll come off really easily. And you will be ready to frame this or put it on a card. Be sure to sign. That's always a must. And give it away to someone. They will love it and you'll make their day. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and I will see you all next week. One more detail that I forgot, and I can't believe I almost forgot this, but we can't leave this little birdhouse hanging in midair. So we're going to just draw a line straight up like this and make a little jagged line like that. And we've got our little birdhouse hung. That really is the final step. Thanks so much for watching. See you next week.